For somebody who's getting ready to retire and receive a military retirement check, it makes all the sense in the world to get a whole life policy. Man, if you can get ahead of the game at the 5-year prior mark and start that IBC stuff, like, holy cow.
It's not just, people coming out of the military, but it's everyone in this country right now.
I would be in a totally different financial place today had somebody explained this to me when I was 24 years old, 23 years old.
One of my goals was, I'm changing it for my family. There will be some sort of estate that gets passed down, not debt. Do you want to take what the government's going to give you, or can I show you what you could do for yourself? And once you break it down that way, it's a no-brainer.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Wealth Webinar, October 9th. I'm Stephen Nagy. I'll be hosting the show today on behalf of Chris Naugle, who is mid-flight right now, headed to Nashville, Tennessee for the big annual BYOB Money Multiplier Mastermind event. So I'll be flying out there Friday morning to join the group, but our entire team is there, our money mentors, and about 150 clients that are looking to learn more and get into deep strategies, specifically on how to become your own banker, take back control of your money, solve your money problem, and start implementing what we call the infinite banking concept, otherwise known as IBC, into your lives. So we got a stacked lineup at the event. We got some really cool people that are going to be there. So really looking forward to Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, Nashville is always a fun place to go out after the event at night, listen to some live music, grab a couple drinks. My opinion, that's where the real relationships are made, when you're out and about, having dinner, talking, chatting, and whatnot. So really looking forward to that event. Of course, we have Money Tank in Charlotte, North Carolina coming up in just a few weeks as well, November 8th and 9th. So another big event. Huge opportunity to come hang out with us and some real high-end investors, make those connections, lenders, active investors, passive investors, where the magic happens. Repping my PMC Money Tank shirt today in honor of all these live events we got going on. But today on Wealth Webinar, we're going to get into a topic that is real near and dear to my heart and should be really to every American in this country. And that is our veterans and what that looks like for veterans when they transition from military life into civilian life. And we're going to focus on the financial side of that today. We have a special guest, a good friend of ours, Joe Cummings, who I'll introduce you guys to in a minute, that is a military man and went through that transition himself, got into the financial world, and is doing just amazing things right now for his clients. And we always talk at different masterminds we're at together and different insurance company events and things. Joe and I always go out and have a good time, but we've never actually brought him on the show before. So with Chris traveling, I was like, Chris, let's get Joe. And he's like, perfect. So Joe, I'm looking forward to talking with you today. And then we also have Jason Morgan with us, who Jason is actually up in the BYOB offices every day with Chris, kind of behind the scenes, making things happen, but he's joining us live on today's webinar. Jason was in the military for 22 years as well, so has a little bit of experience and of what people go through with that transition. So invited Jason to join us today as well, just to kind of give his insights and his experience and knowledge over the topics that Joe and I and Jason are going to be talking about as we get rolling. So Joe, hopefully that was a pretty good introduction, but please introduce yourself a little bit further, what you got going on, things like that. And thank you for coming on the show, man. Looking forward to this.
No, thank you for having me. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little upset that you didn't take the opportunity to play some cherry poppin' daddies. I said to you the other day, I've never done a podcast before. I'm like, what the hell? Let's do it. Let's see what it's about. So anyhow, Joe Cummings, I did 20 years in the Navy. I was a helicopter crew chief. And then, basically after the military, I had to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. As a helicopter guy, you wear a onesie, you're wearing a flight suit all day, every day. It's like basically just wearing pajamas. And after 20 years of being a child, I needed to figure out how to pick out clothing and what I'm going to do next.
Well, that's first off, you're already ahead of me because I kind of might have pajamas on right now, but that's a whole nother story, right? So we're sticking with Zoom. I'm looking good. I got a full suit on. Just kidding. All right.
Yeah, you can't see your pants. Can't see what kind of pants you have on today. But yeah, so exiting the military it's scary for a lot of folks. Did I hear you correct in saying, Jason, you served as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where were you at?
I was in the Air Force. I did 12 years active. I
Okay,
came in 99, and then
okay,
2001 happened, and so I spent, I don't know, 10 years in and out of the AOR, and then I did 11 years in the National Guard. So
okay,
I
cool.
finished off in the National Guard.
So did you finish off, I guess so you'll see your retirement at 60 then.
So I think it's actually 58.
Okay.
It's weird, but yeah,
Yeah.
ultimately yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. What reasoning did you get out at 12? That's a hard place to pick to decide, hey, am I gonna stay in or get out? 12 years, man.
Right. Ultimately, I felt like it started to get so political. I felt like it just kept getting worse and worse where we were losing people, but our mission was going up and up and up.
Yep.
And it just felt like it was never going to stop tightening. And for me, I was willing to try something different. And when they offered the program of a Palace Chase to go from active to the Guard, I took it. And a lot of people weren't happy with me because they were losing a valuable asset, but ultimately it was my decision and
Yeah.
I'm happy I did it. The National Guard wasn't everything that I thought it would be. It was kind of like going from the NFL to JV, like football, maybe. But ultimately it was great. I got to experience both sides and it was great. It
Yeah.
was a great, it was a great time.
I'm super thankful for my time in the service. I was more than a bonehead when I joined.
Absolutely.
Not saying I'm not a bonehead now. I mean, hell, the Snaggy was trying to get us to do electric electric scooters. That's his thing. Like, hey, let's go get some of those drinks you talked about and do some networking with our electric scooters. What is this guy doing? But yeah, I'm super thankful that for my time in, but the transition process is super scary for folks,
No doubt.
it's
No
like
doubt.
you're institutionalized after 20 years of being in the military. That's the only way to put it. It's like it's no different than somebody who does time, it does hard time. Like when you go
Correct.
to get out, you're scared. Like, what do I do? How do
Right.
we navigate this? And now I'm a few years removed from it. I've been retired since I retired in 21, but
Same.
now it's like, wow, I'm thankful for everything that happened, but how do I help more people be less scared and make the right financial decisions when they're nearing their end? I do a ton of counseling, kind of, get a room full of people, whether it's a squadron or whether I'm on board a ship or something, get a room full of people and just talk about what the transition process is, how it works, how you should, in my opinion, how you should start 5 years prior to separation. If you haven't done any college yet, if you haven't set yourself up financially, if you haven't even thought about what your next career field is going to be, like 5 years gives you the opportunity to get all of that squared away,
Hmm.
you know, but when you're 5 years out, no one's thinking that. People
No.
are just thinking, I got this going on, I got that going on, I got to be deployed. I'm going to be deployed next year. And that's the only focus, which it's good to be laser focused, especially when you have a career where if you are not focused and if you are not making those smart decisions, there's real time decisions, you can hurt people, right? So it's,
Hmm.
I want those folks to be focused, but at the same time, they wait till the last second and then people are 12 months out, 6 months out going, oh, what is SBP? Oh, what
Right.
is what is VGLI? What does that mean? Let alone I'm looking for a job. I don't even know how to write
Hmm.
a resume. I haven't thought about a resume in 20 years.
It is scary. You're 100% right. When Steven mentioned this morning and asked me if I would sit in on this, I was like, absolutely. This is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I'd
one of
like
those
to,
things, you always hear, and it gets in, not to get even in politics about it, but you just always hear this, how, our vets in this country are not taken care of and just all the challenges with the VA and everything. And it does make you wonder, like, why there are not more, programs or education involved, not just when it happens, but like you're saying, Joe, 5 years ahead of time. I mean, it takes time to really start wrapping your head around things. I mean, if you think about, most people that do not join the military, they get out of high school, and, most people these days go into college, and all college really does is prepare you in most cases for what's next, or, get you the education for whatever your field's going to be. But all the focus on what's now was, getting out of college, graduating college, what you're going to do once you get out of college. But you throw to the military, it's all, it's everything involved with that, like you're saying, between the deployments and everything else. And, there's not a lot of, okay, well, what does come next? And then, the proofs in the numbers, when you look at, just the suicide rates and the PTSD and everything else for our veterans, it's really sad. And it's one of those things that it's almost like they don't want to have a solution for it. They don't, and we can't rely on the government and the politicians to provide these solutions. So that's why I think it's so important, Joe, for people like you that have had that experience. Jason, you've gone through this, where you guys can say, okay, this was messed up when I went through it, but at the end of the day, like, how can I take what I went through and Saul and my buddies and everything else and start sharing that with other people? And so, that's why I really love what you're doing. And, some of those terms you were mentioning, like, I don't know anything about that. So maybe we can get into a little bit about, like, when you do meet with somebody, what does that look like? What are the options that they offer versus some things that we can do alternatively? And the last thing I want to say, Joe, real fast, is a lot of people join Wealth Webinar. Obviously, we really focus on the infinite banking concept. And we'll get into that a little bit today, and we'll talk a little bit about, but if anybody has specific questions, throw those in the Q&A section. I'm going to be answering those as we get going. We can answer them live if it's appropriate, but put the questions in the Q&A section. And then I'll also share a couple links. Like, if you just want to learn, like, what is infinite banking specifically, after this webinar today, go watch the other shows that we have. We do one specifically every Tuesday. We have a course. I'll put those links in the chat box, but today's going to be a little bit different of a discussion, not primarily on IBC, but we will wrap that into this discussion. Just wanted to kind of mention that, Joe.
No, thank you. Yeah, and I'll definitely touch on some of, like I said, some of that transition stuff. But, IBC is a fantastic tool if you plan on doing a military retirement or going through the military and doing a whole entire career. Man, if you can get ahead of the game at the 5-year prior mark and start that IBC stuff, like, holy cow, be in so much better position. I was fortunate enough when I met my wife and we got married basically 5 years before I got out of the service. And we don't live a lavish lifestyle. So, basically we lived off my wife's income, and she's the the breadwinner in the family. And we invested my money, like my entire paycheck. And that's how we got lucky enough to get ourselves under, some good sure footing. But if we didn't meet with a finance guy, then we would have done what everybody else does, buy a bigger house and buy a boat and buy a car. And then what happens? Like, oh, wait, we're getting ready to get out of the military. I don't have a job lined up. How are we going to pay for this stuff? So if we could get people to get on board knowing that, hey, I plan on doing a retirement, and they could start the IBC process 5 years before they retire, they'd be in a great position.
It would be epic.
And I can't stress it enough to folks, but I'm sure that you guys run into this. How do we get people past thinking life insurance? I tell people, don't say the word life insurance to me when we're talking about, that pot of cash that we're going to reach into later on in life. Like, don't even say the word life insurance. Call it, I don't care what you call it. But anyhow, we'll get there. So some of the things that I wanted to break out there, Stephen, was there are obviously when you hold different positions in the military, you may have to have different health qualifications, right? So me, as a helicopter crew chief, I had to keep my flight physical. I had to do an annual flight physical, and basically you have to tell them that you're perfectly fine. And if you don't, if God forbid, if there's something wrong with you, then I could potentially lose the ability to perform my job. And if I lose the ability to perform my job, the Navy's going to look at me and go, well, you're useless. You're a helicopter crew chief, but you can't be in a helicopter. What good are you to us? Goodbye. Right? So when you talk about military members and are trying to do this career thing, a lot of time for a lot of different specialties or MOSs, you have folks that they can't go to medical and say, hey, I blew out my shoulder, or hey, my back's bothering me, or hey, I'm having these bad dreams about some stuff that I maybe saw when I was doing my job, because then you have the fear of, well, what are they going to medically separate me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, screw that. If I
They
could just,
red stamp your file and you don't
that's
get
it.
to exactly.
That,
Exactly.
yeah. So then you know, what happens? You wind up going through your whole career, not really saying things at a doc that you maybe should have, right? And then you get towards the 18, 19-year mark and you're going, hey, I'm going to retire next year. I got to go through this VA claims process when I get out.
Brutal.
Maybe I should start telling the doctor some of that stuff, because if I do a VA claim, I want to tell them about all my problems. So that
Mm-hmm.
way I get compensated properly for my ailments.
How was it for you getting out during COVID? Because for me, when we got out, the SO, the standard operating procedure was they send us to an active base, we get a physical, and then you go from there. But with COVID, they had no plan in place. They basically just said, "Oh, you're retiring? Okay. Well, we'll see you guys later." And that was it. We were basically like standing out at a bus stop waiting for a bus that never came. We
Right.
kind of had to figure it out ourselves. And it was rough for me. It took me a year of just trying to undo the institutionalization of exactly what you were describing before I went to the VA to register. I wasn't comfortable, like, day one heading into the VA. I waited a year until I felt like I got my mind to a place where I was comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I will say that, look, I never wanted to stay in the military ever,
Neither did I.
right?
I didn't want
And
to
then my
stay
first
forever.
tour, like, all I did was like get in trouble a lot, you know?
You're speaking
Yes.
my language.
Yeah, yeah. I got in trouble a lot. And then like I realized, oh, this isn't too bad. This job thing isn't too bad. So I just wound up staying in at the 10-year mark. I'm like, well, dang, dude, I've been in 10 years. Well, I might as well
And it
do it.
went like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I
Wow.
might as well do 20 so I can get that paycheck. I'm not an idiot. You get a
Right.
paycheck forever and then move on to the next thing. But at my 15-year mark, I started a countdown counter on my phone. Like, I was serious. I started at 2,500 days, whatever that, do the math there. And I went after it. At 2,500 days. I was like, this is how many days I got left. So a lot of stuff I started before, COVID was really locking things down.
Mhm.
I knew as soon as I could put in my retirement papers 24 months prior, I put them in. And immediately, like, I pushed send. I got up from my desk. I walked down to my commanding officer's office, because we were in a really small command. And I was like, hey, I just submitted my paperwork to you. I need you to sign them. He's like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm like, no, I need you to I need to do it now. Like, I want it done today.
The best
Obviously,
feeling.
yeah, he did it on his timeline, but I knew there was no chance that I wanted to stay in, especially
Mhm.
my wife is active duty still. We had a little
Wow.
kid, and we both got deployed multiple times in one year. And it was like,
Wow.
who do you send your kid with? Well, our kid went with our neighbor until one of Tara's parents could come down to get the kid. And it was like,
Wow.
after the third time, I was like, I'm done. Check. I did it 3 times in one year, and I'm done. I'm out of this game. So I would say I was very forward leaning with getting out. I knew at my 2-year mark, hey, the papers are in. I I told my I told my commanding officer, hey, at 18 months prior, I'm going to start going to the dock, and I'm just going to let you know they're never going to let me fly again. And I was just very upfront with them and let them know, like, I understand I'm here and I'm holding this position, and I'm not going to be able to perform these duties. Like, I will pick up the slack. I will pick up other people's workload so they can pick up my slack. And we were just we were a good cohesive small unit, and everybody kind of understood, hey, if I can take some of the stuff off of your plate and you can fly a couple extra flights for me, on my behalf, I definitely did that.
So what was it that 5 years out, who was it? Did you have a mentor, or who was it that, kind of put that bug in your ear that you needed to start planning for, financially for when you did get out?
It was my now business partner.
Oh,
So,
wow.
like I said, we got married. My wife and I got married. We sat down with Daniel, and he was teaching us all this stuff about finance and how to start putting money away and getting some whole life policies and getting some term on top of that. And
Cool.
at that point, it was like, I really started doing the math going, well, we're not that far away from retirement. Like you said, 10 years goes by like that. I was at the 15-year mark and was like, holy cow, I didn't realize some of my friends are already retiring that, I was real close with growing up or through the military. I'm like, what's going on here? So I just got it. I just got it in my brain that I needed to move forward. I'm a big fan of writing down goals and looking at them every day. And like I said, once I put that countdown on the phone, like you look at your phone, how many times a day I saw that
Right.
countdown every single time I looked at my phone. It was like, I got to make it right. I wanted to get my bachelor's degree before I got out because why wouldn't you? The Navy paid
Right.
for it.
Yep.
I don't have to pay for it. I wanted to get the finance stuff right because I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I wanted to have a year's salary set aside in case. Like, what if? What if I don't like the first few things that I did?
Right.
And my wife and I we're super fortunate. Like I said, she's the breadwinner. She makes a good wage she's an 05, so
Nice.
she makes a good wage. So it was kind of easy for us. Our expenses were pretty low to get ourselves set up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important thing too, Joe. Like, we talk a lot about it, but like living within your means, not living an extravagant lifestyle if you don't have it, not extending out and, maxing out credit cards and relying on credit cards and things of that nature, not buying new cars if you don't need to. And, we run across so many people in this business. I know you see it too. And, when we do infinite banking, so, if anybody does watch, the 90-minute video schedules a call with our money mentors, you're going to get on the phone and, we're going to start talking to you about what does your financial situation look like? What kind of debt do you have now? What kind of income? What does all this look like? And what we're doing is we're asking those questions because we're trying to find out, what the best strategy is for you. If you're looking to grow wealth and set yourself up for retirement, but you might be able to find investments that are paying you 12, 15, 20%, which is great. But if at the same time you have $60,000 in credit card debt at 27%, you're losing money. You're paying more in interest than what your money's earning for you. And so you're actually going negative. A lot of people don't kind of understand those basic concepts. And so when we're doing these strategies, we need to know what to focus on first. And so that's why we ask that stuff on these strategy calls. And then what we do is, if you do have debt, then we say, okay, here's your income. Here's what you're paying now towards this debt. Here's the total amount of debt. And then we create what's called a debt blaster. We design a policy illustration for infinite banking, what money to run through the policy to pull out, then using this debt blaster to pay that debt off quicker than otherwise possible while still building wealth. And that's the power of infinite banking. So sometimes you do got to take it back to the basics, because there's a lot of people we talk to also that, hey, we could create this awesome plan for you, but you're paying $2,000 a month on 2 brand new vehicles. You're living in a house that's way above your means. You're spending all this money on all these vacations and trips and things. Like, you're going to have to cut something back or go out there and work harder, get us, whatever the case might be, but you got to move things around. It's amazing. And we see this across the country right now. I mean, we're at record in the United States of America, record levels of credit card debt right now in this country. Savings have just gone through, they're almost negative again right now. Like, it's not a good situation. So it's very common. So all the stuff that we talk about, like, it's not just, people coming out of the military, but it's everyone in this country right now. And so, it's really amazing that you kind of were able to practice what you preach, so to say, and now you can go out there and share it with other people. And, Joe, like what made you get into the financial services industry? Like, what led you to that path, would you say?
I grew up without much. I mean, in the winter in Philadelphia, if you don't have cash to pay the oil guy, you don't have heat. So, you know what I mean? Like, they kept the electricity on because at a certain, I forget what it was, something like middle of November, they made it illegal to turn the electricity off on people that couldn't pay their bills because people would literally like freeze to death in their homes. But I just grew up without much, and I never wanted to do that again. My family are all construction workers, or my mom, she like worked at a delicatessen for years and years, but we just didn't have anything. No one in my family has ever built any real wealth. And one of my goals was, I'm changing it. I'm changing it for my family. My family there will be some sort of estate that gets passed down, not debt. That gets absorbed.
That's awesome.
And again, like I said, I'm serious about the goal stuff. There are a few goals that I have for myself. like I just said, passing down in the state is a goal, one of my serious goals. I'm going to use the word retire, but maybe I should use soft retire. I will soft retire at 55. Not I plan on it. I will, period. I know what my income will be, period, at 55. It isn't a
That's
question.
awesome.
Like, this is what I'm doing. And what I have to do to make that a reality, I don't know, maybe sell feet pics or something, but we'll figure it out. But I think that's what drove me to the finance realm. Again, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I got out of the military, but I knew what I liked doing. And even more importantly, I knew what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be cold when it's cold outside. I didn't want to be hot when it's hot outside. I didn't want to jump out of a helicopter or be in aviation unless I was at controls. I didn't want to drive on a military base unless I decided to drive on a military base. And then I knew, like, I like teaching. I like coaching. I get a kick out of seeing younger dudes that I help mentor in the military out promote me. Like, that was awesome. Like I said, I got in a lot of trouble, right? So I got to see a lot of people out promote me. But in all honesty, I loved teaching folks. I loved building a cohesive unit and seeing how good they could be at their job. How can we make this better? And, being a financial guy is really doing a lot of the same stuff. It really is. It isn't just put your money here, put your money there. It's how do we get this family to move up to that next level? Their goals and aspirations might be, I want to retire someday. Well, how about we put like a real goal up there for you?
Mhm.
I want to retire wealthy, or I want to retire when I'm 60 and I want to live on this mountain in this part of the world. Like, okay, let's make that a reality. Let's turn that into numbers. Let's turn that into actionable items, and let's start moving the marker.
Do you speak to military groups of people right now?
I do. Yeah, I went through like the compliance process and got approved to do a few different lectures. I do what I call it's just financial literacy lecture.
Okay.
And it's basically, don't make all the mistakes I made. Don't buy a car that you can't afford because it's 85% of your paycheck. Don't buy a house that you can't afford because it's 85% of your paycheck. Stay out of credit card debt. Like, all the stuff that I've made all those mistakes, and I'm just like, hey,
All of
how
us
about we
have that
don't
were in
make
the
some of
military.
those? What's that?
We've all done it.
Yeah, of course, man. When you're making like 13 peanuts a month, like, how are you supposed to not eat them all in one sitting?
And every single, military base that you walk out of is distractions to suck you into exactly that.
Yeah, payday lenders, and oh, you got your first vehicle. Cool, come over here, rent our rims, and we'll put them on your car for you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I just bought this car from this place down the street that's charged me 28% interest because I didn't have credit when I joined the military. Like, I didn't know any better.
Yep. Agree. Same.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of predatory lenders and predatory people that are around the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just strip clubs and cheap car joints. It's just predatory lenders and predatory
Yeah.
people that.
I hear you, man. I got a good comment from Nick over here. He said, I call slamming it to zero. What's the bare minimum you need to live? Eliminate all extras. And I love
I love
that.
I
Yeah.
love that
That's awesome.
slam it to zero.
Brian was just asking you clarify what's an O5.
So you have two pay grades in the military. You have the enlisted side, and then you have the officer side, right? The officers they're the ones overall in charge. The enlisted is the guys doing all the damn work. So you have enlisted goes E1 at the bottom, E9 at the top. Officers go O1 at the bottom, O9 at the top. And then there's a sprinkle of other things, but they're the two main categories. I was the enlisted scum, swabbing the decks, if you will. All right. My wife is on the officer side of the house.
Good for her.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and then we got O1E Mustang.
Yep. So on the if you are enlisted, when you get to a certain rank, you can actually transition to an officer. There are transition programs that turn into officers. And what that individual is talking about is the LDO pipeline. So did somebody say they were in O1E? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't know. They just,
Oh, cool.
just It's
Yeah, again, like for the bare minimums, there's the enlisted scum and the officer scum, and sometimes the enlisted scum goes to the officer scum, but this officer scum never goes to the enlisted scum.
That's it.
yeah, we got some good comments. So like, I'd like to get your take on some of this, Joe, just because I'm so like in the infinite banking world. We're like big believers in kind of controlling wealth and doing a lot of the investing ourselves and taking on the risk. And I know we're going to get into a little bit about some of like fixed annuities and some of the opportunities with that and some of the other planning that you do with people. But just a couple of good comments real fast we could hit on. So Roy said, just received my application from Lafayette, getting set up to do an exam hopefully this week. So what that means is when we do a strategy call with you, we're going to figure out your overall plan of what this looks like for you moving forward, how to structure the policy, what you're using it for, all that good stuff. And then to actually get the banking policy, as we call it, it's a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy. But to get this policy in force, to get it in place, the insurance company does do full medical underwriting. And in majority of cases, that does include a paramedical exam. So a nurse comes out to your house and takes some of your blood and has you pee in a cup and all that fun stuff. And so, the insurance company really analyzes your health, and then they determine, do they want to offer you that policy or not? And then once they offer you that policy, then that's when you take one last look at it and say, okay, this is what I want to do. The premium amounts look good. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. And then you're off to the races with banking. With us, of course, then you go to what we call our implementation team. We hold your hand to start using this policy and the rest of it. But the bottom line is it is a process, but it does start with that initial strategy call. And I just like people to know, like, if you're new to this, there's no harm, no foul. So we don't charge to get on a call with us. We actually you never pay us a dime ever. The first time any money comes from your account, it goes directly to the insurance company to pay the first premium on that policy. So we get paid directly from the insurance companies as licensed insurance producers, just like any other insurance agent, car insurance, home insurance, anything else out there. And we do take a drastically reduced commission because of the way we design banking policies. We give you access to all of the benefits of those things from day one, instead of having to wait 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 years like a typical off-the-shelf life insurance policy might do. These are specially designed and engineered. So Roy, I love your kind of starting that process. And anybody else that's thinking about that, again, I'll put the link over to schedule a call with one of our money mentors, just so you can kind of start exploring what that looks like for you. And then Roy was asking, how do I get someone like my parents to buy into infinite banking instead of seeing life insurance as a death benefit only perk? And that's a great question. It's one of those things where we won't talk to anybody on the phone until they watch at least that 90-minute video. So I would challenge them, maybe bet them, maybe say, hey, listen, you watch this 90-minute video, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you never think about it again, I'll take you to a steak dinner. Like, entice them a little bit, like, make it fun. I don't know, I'm just throwing things out there, right? But Joe, like, when people come to you and they're like, oh, it's life insurance, or I don't, the infinite bank, whatever, like, what do you say to people about that? I mean, do you have an answer?
So again, a lot of my clients are military. I want to say like 85% of my clients are military, right? So I get a lot of folks, they're at their 18-year mark and they're just realizing, like, I need to do this. I need to do this stuff. For somebody who's getting ready to retire and receive a military retirement check, it makes all the sense in the world to get a whole life policy, right? Because if not, you're going to get what the government's giving you. So it's like, do you want to take what the government's going to give you, or can I show you what you could do for yourself? Right. And then it's more of a conversation of explaining, hey, this is what you're going to get. But one of the guys in the list here just said he's O3E, Mr. Tom. Like, hey, let me show you what the government's going to give you. So that way you have the option. Now that you're smarter and you know what you're going to get force fed, now you have the option to get a little bit of training, a little bit of education, and make this informed decision for yourself. And once you break it down that way, it's a no-brainer.
I mean, even Nick in the comments, he said, I took 4 years of accounting in high school and they never mentioned a word about infinite banking. BYOB needs a high school. And as soon as I learned about this, I mean, I've known Chris for a long time. And when he first explained this to me, the first thing that went through my mind was, I wish somebody would have explained this to me, when I did my first re-enlistment, and I got a small bonus. Yeah. And, I would be in a totally different financial place today had somebody explained this to me when I was, 24 years old, 23 years old. But I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And I applaud you for getting out there and explaining this. You said 85% of your clients are former military or military. That's awesome. That's so
Yes.
great.
Yeah. And I believe, again, the more you educate folks, the more it becomes a simple conversation. To continue down the conversation of, what are some of these things that the government's going to basically force down your throat exiting the military, right? If you are married and you retire from the military, the government's going to automatically enroll you in what's called the survivor benefit plan. It's literally life insurance. It's a life insurance plan for your spouse. And what it does is it'll take your military retirement and reduce it by 6.5%. That cost, that 6.5%, buys your spouse 55% of that military retirement, So when you think, for me, I think it was like 170 something dollars a month. For my wife, it's almost $400 a month. Could you imagine paying $400 a month forever?
Right.
Because if she dies, then instead of her military retirement going away, I'll get 55% of it. How about I just get a big fat check from an insurance company if she passes? I don't need the government to handhold me and give me $1,500 or $2,000 a month. Like, how about
But
you
that's
give
the
me
thing is you're institutionalized, right? You are,
exactly.
and then we just continue on that way. I mean, for 20 something years, somebody told you what to do, when to do it, where to do it.
Yep.
And it's crazy. Once
Well,
you get out and you your mind and you start looking, you're like, oh my Lord, what the
yeah.
hell? What's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, why allow the government to dictate what you're going to do?
I
You
agree.
didn't like it your entire military service. Why are you going to think you're going to like it in retirement? But that's where my wife and I, we bought, no, we didn't get specially designed whole life plans when we started, right? We just got off the shelf whole life plans. But we both got one because I knew that if she retires, we planned on her retiring as an 05. This is what they're going to wind up paying me if something were to happen to Tara. Screw that. How about we just get a whole life policy that'll pay me 3, 4, 5 times that amount? Plus, we get the benefits of utilizing that cash value. Same with my policy. My measly retirement isn't what Tara's is, but it will, or what Tara's will be. But again, we have the same thing set up for Tara. If something happens to me, she'll get a big old fat check from the insurance company. And if not, we'll continue to utilize that cash value like you guys are teaching your clients.
You're in control. The government's not in control.
Exactly. But that's the survivor benefit plan. If you don't want the survivor benefit plan, here's one thing that's even better. You have to find that opt-out option on the back of, page 17 of 543, right? You and your wife or your spouse, excuse me, have to sign it and notarize it. And then it gets submitted. And then you have to hope that some jerk that doesn't really care opts you out.
Right.
They didn't opt me out.
Oh, no.
They didn't opt me. I was the admin chief. I was responsible for all administration. You want to bet my crap was correct? I made my guys show me. I'm like, show me where you put my SBP opt out. Show me. They showed me. I'm like, okay, cool. I know what's in the system. I don't have anything to worry about. I retired during the height of COVID when nobody's friggin' working. And what happens? SBP. I'm like, what is going on here? I called for 9 months.
Wow.
I was that guy. I had a reminder on my phone. And on the first of the month, every single month, I looked at, like, I got charged SBP again. Screw you. Call it up. And after 9 months, they finally fixed it. But
wow,
it just goes to show you, like anybody can screw it up, I guess. But the other thing, when you were in the service, Jason, you had the same thing. SGLI, Service Member Group Life Insurance. It's like
yep,
$28 a month or something. Bucks a month. It gives you $500,000 of coverage.
yep.
Well, what happens when these guys are retiring or getting out of the service? You stop paying for it. You can automatically enroll in veteran group life insurance, but this is another scam.
Right.
With veteran group life insurance, every 5th birthday, so your 40th birthday, your 45th birthday, your 50th birthday, your 55th birthday, the price basically doubles. So you start out paying $70 a month, no big deal. You retire at, say you retire like I did, 38 years old. On your 40th birthday, that price doubles. And then on your 45th birthday, that price doubles again. It's like, if I only would have gotten some, if we
Guidance?
wanted term life insurance, if we would have went out and got some term life insurance, we would have set this price. We would have got $1 million worth of coverage for half the price and been more financially set.
So how do you reach out to more military guys that are, like
it's hard. It's hard, right? Because every year that you're removed from the military, you know less and less folks.
people?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've kept really, I think I've done a good job at least of being in touch with my community. So again, helicopter crew chief, the helicopter community in Norfolk, there's like 12 commands. And I keep in constant contact, at least I try to. And I come over and I give financial literacy briefs. I give transition and retirement briefs.
Awesome.
Yeah, like I still try to be very active, but that's the only way that I know how.
I like that.
You know,
I mean, we all went to a briefing, when we were getting ready to retire. It would have been amazing if somebody was there explaining IBC, life insurance policy, just this aspect of finance that even people that have never been in the military still have no idea what this is. It would have been amazing for me to have.
yeah, it's a shame, the Navy sends you through, they call it now TGPS, I believe is what it's called, before you transition out of the service.
Okay.
And I swear the guy that's talking about SPP, I swear he gets a commission for how many people sign up for that shit. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting in the back of the room going, I know what SPP is. Why are you talking so great about it? Like, so I started asking questions. Hey, what happens if I pay for this for 35 years and then my wife dies? They're like, well, sir, unfortunately, all that money you put into it is lost. I'm like, did everybody hear that? Did everybody hear what that guy just said? What happens? What happens if I die in like month 3? Does she get SPP? I don't think so. Like you have to be alive for a certain period of time before you gotta live 12 months before that'll pay out, Oh, can I opt out anytime after I retire? No. Wait, there's only one 12-month period after you retire that you can opt out? What kind of crap is that? I don't know.
Like this guy, Nick, he said, Joe, come on down to NAS Jacksonville and do a seminar.
I'm putting my email address in here for him. Man, I'll go down to NAS Jacks. I got some folks down there. But yeah, again, I try my best to get in there and make myself relevant and make sure that I continue to educate as many folks as possible. I don't know that I'm doing the best job. I'm sure there's somebody that's smarter than me that can do it a little bit better, but I don't know. Even if
you're out there explaining it, you're out there talking about it,
Just a couple of questions I was going to hit you with. So they were saying, does the military or anyone tell you what you're entitled to when you serve 10 years in the military?
When you depart, yes, there is a transition course. The problem is the transition course, there might be 100 people in this course, and 80% of them might be a 4-year, I did 4 years and I'm getting out, right? And there might be 3 people, 5 people that are 10 years. There may be 5 people that are 20-year retirees, and they don't specialize it. They don't say, hey, you're a 10-year person that's getting out here. This is specialized information just for you. They don't really do that. Again, because it's just a big sausage grinder. They got to get people through that system to get them out of the military, like, whether they're getting out at 4 years or 18 years or 28 years, it doesn't matter.
It's ultimately on you.
Yeah.
It's ultimately on you. That's crazy.
Yeah. And again, it's hard and it's scary because you don't know anything different. I got a paycheck the 1st and the 15th for 20 years straight. Never was one missed. When I started working for myself, I'm like, man, I'm not getting a paycheck on the 15th. I didn't know how to handle it. So I set myself up as a W-2 employee and paid myself on the 15th. Like, they seem so stupid, but it's like, I have to do this because I don't know how to live without getting paid on the 15th. All my military pension stuff comes in on the 1st. Like, well, what would I do?
Wow, that's great.
Another real aspect of kind of things that I think are worth discussing is, like we said, there's the enlisted side and there's the officer side. Neither side is making great money for what their job is. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter if you're, on the officer side or not, but neither side is making very good money. A lot of times what I wind up having to do, Stephen, is get these guys some convertible term insurance, because as they're getting ready to retire, like, they can't take on another $500 a month payment. So I'll do a bunch of, a lot of policies I'll do is convertible term policies. It's like, hey, when you're 2 years out from retirement, here's the goals and a plan to get your family set up. After you retire and you get your new career and we now know what's going on, maybe you get some VA compensation, like your income changes, everything changes, then we can convert in the future. But I have to wind up doing a lot of that for folks just because we don't make a lot of money in the military.
No.
You know? So you have to figure out ways to still set people up for success, but also know like, hey, after you retire, you're going to get out and start making real money because you're not going to get out and never work again. You definitely don't make enough money in retirement to do that. Let's be
Right.
so.
Yeah, definitely. What I was saying is, you know, you're allowed to speak on certain topics. Is the military allowed you to speak to active military groups on these topics?
I do. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I talk when when I'm talking about like transition, retirement transition, I go through like the full gambit of how does the VA process work? Because people don't understand how the process works. And
Nope.
once you understand the process, it's simple.
Mhm.
You fill out a claim by doing, you know, you go to your medical record, figure out what's wrong with you. Is everything that's wrong with me in my medical record? Yes or no? The answer is probably no, because
Mhm.
you're busy fighting wars and getting you're busy doing everything else for everyone else and not going to medical to get yourself fixed.
Correct.
So you make sure your medical record has the stuff that you're supposed to have in there. You know, then you fill out a claim saying, hey, these are all my problems. The paperwork's in the medical record. And then what confuses people is the like actuary side. They're like, well, I filled out my claim. Now what? Well, some Milton with a stapler and a, you know, set of glasses is going to be looking through your claim going, oh, you said that you have, you know, reduced mobility in your shoulders. And they go to the CFR 38 and they look in there and go, okay, this is the chart. And if your mobility is reduced up to this much, then you'll get a 10% rating for that shoulder issue or whatever it may be.
They send you to a third party doctor,
Yep.
and that
To
third party
verify.
doctor, if they deny claims, ultimately they get a kick at the end of the year. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know about that. I
Could
cannot.
look into that.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I cannot verify that. What I will say is I have a tried and true method that I will not say on a podcast where I'm getting recorded
Mhm.
on what I think, how I think you should approach the VA process. And so far it's worked really well for all of my folks.
Good for you. It was a
Um,
2.5 year process for me. I had to go to another company
so
to assist me.
unfortunately, if you separate and then do your VA claim, dude, you're just in there with Gen Pop, man. Like
Right.
when are they going to get to you? They're backlogged for 19
Yep.
months. Like when are they going to get to your record? Now,
Exactly.
there is a program for the DoD or for the military. When you're getting out, if you submit all of your stuff between 180 days prior to separation and 90 days prior to separation, it's called the Benefits Delivery at Discharge Program.
Never
They
heard of it.
they prioritize your
Wow.
VA record in front of the Gen Pop.
Oh my.
Yeah. So, and here's the
Wow.
deal. I was very specific with you. I didn't say 6 months. I didn't say 3 months. I used days because if you turn in your claim on the 79th day, because the 80, you know, the 90th day was, or excuse me, if you submit it on the 89th day because the 90th day was a Sunday, oh, well, you're with Gen Pop. Like they don't care. It's got to be very, very specific, but it puts you at the front of the line for getting your VA claim through. Now, do VA claims still take a while? Absolutely. Does everybody get it
Mhm.
right on time? No, not always, but it does help. It is something that they're doing that is helping.
Hey, Joe, Paulina asked, my daughter is Navy Reserve. Would she be able to connect with you? Is that possible?
Yeah, I talk with people all the time. Hit me up. I think I
Awesome.
put my email address in there.
I'll put it again. You just got to change your little blue box to everyone instead of hosting panelists so everyone sees your comment, but I'll do it for you.
Oh, I'm talking to no one? Dang, this
Talking,
whole time.
there we go. And then whenever after that, if you can explain the blended retirement system.
Okay, awesome. So I retired with the old school system, and the old school system is very simple. They take your high 3 for your base pay, and that is what they give you 50% of at your 20-year mark. All right. With the new system, with the blended retirement, personally, I like it. All right. That's just me. And I like it because I do believe in the market. I believe that the market, you can make a lot of money in it. But the bean counters in the military know that most people do not put money in their 401k. So they know that in the end, the government's going to save money by not giving you 50% of your retirement after 20 years. So how does it work? First and foremost, they give you a matching program. The military or the government 401k, the military government 401k is called TSP. Okay. So they sign you up for TSP and they immediately put in 1% when you first start. After 2 years, after you serve 2 years, they will match up to 5%. So I tell all these young guys, hey, you need to be putting in a minimum of 5%, be putting it into the Roth option. Okay. And then the military is going to match you 5%. Now, at the 20-year mark, you can still retire. But instead of getting that high 3 calculation at 50%, you're going to get that high 3 calculation at 40%. So they do shave 10% off the top, but they're giving you money the entire time. And it's great for folks that, hey, you did 12 years active. Like, what if you didn't go back in and to finalize that 20-year retirement? You wouldn't have anything. But somebody else who does 4, 5, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it may be, they were at least getting that match for that period of time. So I kind of agree with it. I really do. Now, the officers do a good job of making sure the officers understand this stuff, and they're usually highly educated and they get degrees, right? So they're pretty good about making sure that they take care of this. The enlisted scum, literally, unless you have a good enlisted leader that sits you down and says, hey, I want you to sign into this. Like, get on your computer, got to use your little ID card, get into the computer, sign in, show me that you're putting 5% into this. If you don't have somebody that does that, chances of them doing it, about 30%.
Agree. And the way we're always moving, at least for the time that I was in, I mean, I didn't stay put very long. If I was deployed, I was PCSing, back to a deployment, a little bit of leave sprinkled in here, maybe a stateside, whatever. And those handful of people that would guide you, they're doing the same thing. So everybody is constantly moving, and the opportunity that you have to run into somebody who is going to give you advice like that, it's tough. I mean, I had one, I listened to him, and I did that. But I mean, there were so many people that were like, we don't make shit for money. And now you want me to give up some of we all live paycheck to paycheck as it is.
Yep.
It's not like the guy that lives next door to you, that he's living paycheck to paycheck just as much as you are. We all, in our paychecks, what we make is online. Everybody knows. It's not a secret. So we're all kind of living in under that same bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that, when I became a chief and the young guys were checking into the command, an area where I failed, I truly believe I failed my guys, is I would always ask them, hey, are you signed up for TSP? Are you putting in your 5%? I would always ask. What I should have done is literally said, you can't check in with me until you have an ID card and you can log into the computer, because one, you have to show me how to check email, because I'm sending out information, you jerks aren't reading it. All right.
Right.
One, you got to show me you can read email. Two, show me that you are depositing 5% in your TSP. Pull it up on a computer, show me. I absolutely, in my mind, failed by not making folks do that. Because if you're only making 12 peanuts and you get 11 to eat, like, it really isn't that big. It isn't that much of a difference. But after 20 years, you're talking from putting in 1% to putting in 10 when you get that 5% match. I mean, it's real. It's real money.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Maybe get into a little bit more. So I know you use a lot of life insurance and kind of talk through that. I mean, do you want to talk about, you said you believe in the markets. You want to talk a little bit about kind of how you position that and kind of talk to people about?
Yeah. So I am not UBC, wealth building cornerstone. I'm not a practitioner, but that's very close to the mindset that we have. I don't want everybody just to have all their money in their 401k or their TSP, because you're not going to be able to touch that until you're 59 and a half. Like, I don't want you to do that. I want you to have, just a standard brokerage account that you can reach out and touch and grab funds from, because life's going to happen. I feel very strongly. I love the whole life policy as it's a hedge against the downside market is the way we use it. Right. And it allows you, because how do most people set up their accounts? They have one account, they got a 401k. They put all their money in their 401k and they're risky when they're young. And as they get older, they get less and less risky. Right. That's how most folks do it. That's what everybody says. When you're 50, you should start pulling back the throttle on how risky you are. Well, how much money do you have in your account when you're 50? You have the most amount you've ever had. And does big money make money, or does little money make money? Well, big money makes money. So now you're saying when I had the most amount of money, you want me to have less risk, and you want me to continue to do that as I get closer to retirement? Well, that sucks. So, we believe in building that. We use the whole life policy to build that pot of cash that's available for you. So that way, when you retire, your market-driven assets are doing great. If it's a down year in the market, well, then don't touch the market-driven assets. Reach over into that specially designed whole life policy you guys talk about and take some cash out of there and let that supplement your income for retirement. That's how we lean on the whole life policy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, because, we obviously are real big, what Chris and I teach in the money school, and, we're real big on controlling wealth. And so, there's a lot involved with that, even on the passive income side of things, like let's say private money lending. A lot of you guys know we have private money club. A lot of our clients will put money into policies, immediately take loans on those policies, take that money, deploy it into real estate investment deals, both on the active and the passive side. But just looking at the passive side, even if I'm going to lend you money on a real estate deal, make 12, 15% annual returns, whatever the case, I still need to be educated on how to do that. I still need to take the time to underwrite the deal, to have the relationship, to make sure that that deal is legit, make sure the paperwork is right, get to the bank to wire the money, or if it's coming from a IRA, I got to have my self-directed IRA set up properly. I got to do a direction of investment form, so there's things that are involved and quite honestly, I understand people pretty well, and what we teach isn't necessarily for everybody. There's a lot of people out there that want to work with a financial advisor, or they want to have somebody that's saying, hey, let's put our money in these other places where it's completely hands off. Just let the money grow. And then if we need to do something different, let's hop on a call and talk through what some options are and things like that. Where what we teach is more, let's educate you, teach you, coach you, show you how to do it, and then you go out there and do it. So I do think there's a spot for, both places there, and nothing wrong with either approach. It's just what fits your personality, your skill sets, your time. I mean,
you ever feel like you don't have control of your real estate business or your money? That's right. The big banks and the institutions, they're in control, right? I know you've felt that before. Private Money Club puts you back in the driver's seat. As members often tell us, it's a total game changer. Join the community of like-minded lenders and borrowers by going to privatemoneyclub.com. Sign up.
Not everybody prioritizes their time in a way that allows them to go out and do some of this stuff. And so what I love that you do, Joe, is you kind of take a similar approach, but a slightly different approach that works for your clients,
Yeah. And you said something there like that brought up. My wife is one of those, I'm going to give you money. I don't want to know anything about it. I just want that number to grow and I'm happy. Whereas me, I'm like, hey, if I'm going to give you $1, you're going to teach me how the sausage is made. I want to see every step of it. I want to get my hands in there. I want to feel it. I want to know everything about it. And that's just my personality. So, in my mind, you have to be flexible for both. I think it's so foreign to me to think like, I'm just going to send my money to this guy over there and I'll never see it. She did that for, was it 10 years? Yeah, she did that for 10 years. When she joined the Naval Academy, after she graduated the Naval Academy, I should say, she got, Morgan Stanley, I think it was, guy. She gave him $100,000 or something along those lines and then never talked to him again. I was like that, what? You did what? You gave him $100,000 and then just never talk. Like, what happened to the money? Oh, it's just in this account. I get a statement for it. Like, what have you done with it? Nothing. Like, ever? Wow. But again, that's the personality aspect. Like you said, some people, that's how they rock and roll. Some people, they want to know it all. Some people, they want to be hands-on and figure out how to use that money more effectively.
Well, and a lot of it could go a little deeper. From my experience, what I found is, people have that mindset or that attitude and do that. I think a lot of it is a deeper place where they're scared to lose it. It's the fear of losing that money. It's the fear of taking on perceived risk. They feel like, hey,
Yeah.
is this professional or this account is managing it, and so it's risk-free, where in reality that's probably one of the most risky things you can do, is just let up control of your money. And so with a little bit of education, that's why we have so many different coaching programs, so many different educational programs. We do 6 live webinars for free every single week. We have paid coaching, things like that, because what we found is that with a little bit of education, it's not hard. Anybody can learn this stuff. It's just having the mindset to be open to learning it. But once you learn it, you can never go back. And it's one of those things, like when we teach infinite banking, and those of you that watch the 90-minute video, you'll hear us talk about this all the time. We use an example of this video on YouTube called the backwards bicycle. And if you've never watched it, go on YouTube after this, type in the backwards bicycle. And what it is, it's this kid, this young guy, he went out and he basically took a bicycle, and everybody knows how to ride a bike, right? But what he did is he made the handlebars backwards. So he reversed the way that the handlebars operate. And believe it or not, because your mind is so programmed to ride a bicycle one way, when you make one change how the handlebars operate, people hop on that bicycle and they fall over. They cannot ride it. It's nearly impossible. Why? Because your brain, and on the video, he gets into all the technical science and everything behind it. But just the bottom line is our minds are programmed one way, and it's very hard to change that programming. But the very cool thing about our minds is if we have the discipline or whatever it takes to get to reprogram your mind, once you do have that mindset shift, it's very hard at that point then to go back. And that's why so many people that start infinite banking, over 92% of our clients that have policies for over 12 months, start additional policies. They refer people to start additional policies. We have a 98% retention rate, because once you learn how to do this concept, you're never going to want to do it the old way. And so people that are like, hey, let me give up control of my money to advisors, it's because we've been told that our entire lives. Even 401ks. I could ramble on for hours about 401ks and traditional IRAs and the way the traditional system, I was a financial advisor. So I went through it firsthand. Out of college, I had my Series 7, I had my Series 66, I had my 250 variable annuity licenses, CFP, worked with Ameriprise Financial and all the corporate training and everything. And so I saw that side of the fence, and that's what I would do, is I'd go out and sell people on giving me their money, giving me the control. And then once I started attending real estate seminars and learning about entrepreneurship and business ownership, that's when my mind was like, well, shit, man, the majority of people I'm helping as a financial advisor are not meeting their goals. They're not meeting their investment, what they want to do in retirement. They're not able to retire because the market is so volatile, especially like this was leading up to 08 and into 08. We all remember what happened with that. And it was like, man, like, what am I really doing? And when I started learning, like, hey, people can like do so much better by just having some education, by doing things a little bit outside of the traditional financial field, I never went back. I've now owned multiple businesses. I've owned tons of real estate over the years. I've done a lot of cool things. I've helped thousands of people over the last 15 years in all 50 states in North America, South America, all over the world at this point now. And it's because I just had that mindset shift at a young age. I was very fortunate. But the very cool thing is you can be in your 20s right now, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. We have people that learn about this in their 70s that we get policies for that get started in their lives in their 70s. So it's never too late. A lot of times that's for generational aspects and things like that. But then what do? They start teaching their kids in their 50s, and they start teaching their grandkids in their 20s. And then those grandkids are going to start teaching the next generation when they start having kids. And that's how you really start affecting and making change. But it all starts with that initial mindset shift. And it's the mindset of what has always been done, what I've always been told by going to a professional to manage my stuff is the less risky route. That's just not true. And statistics show this. When we look at Social Security, when we look at how many people try to retire in this country and they're not able to, they have to go back to work. And we're seeing it right now, again, with credit card usage through the roof, with savings rates through the bottom of the ground. Like, it's crazy, and it doesn't work. And we're not even in a recession yet. We're approaching one right now. We're going to see a crash. We're going to see a recession. It's coming, and things are already bad for so many people. And then, but the news tells us, those 850,000 jobs this month, we're doing great, better than expectations. But they don't tell you that 775,000 of those jobs are government jobs, bureaucracy, managing other bureaucracy bullshit. So real manufacturing, hardworking people are suffering right now. But again, it starts with making the conscious decision to learn something new, change that mindset, and going out there and making it happen. And so that's why I love like people like you, Joe, Jason, our team, Chris, traveling the country, never being home. Everything that we do it because we find the importance of being able to share this with other people, because what we teach with infinite banking, you're not working any harder, you're not working any longer, you're not taking on any more risk. You're changing one thing, where your money goes first. You're plugging into this proven system that's been used for over 200 years. Infinite banking, using whole life this way, has been around since well before the tax code was written, well before the politicians became as corrupt as they become, well before Social Security went bankrupt and everything else. It's been being used forever. Why? Because it's guaranteed. It's safety in a chaotic world. And then so we store our wealth, we generate guaranteed tax-free growth within these policies, and then we start educating ourselves. How do we start pulling that money out and putting it into real estate deals, putting it into businesses, putting it into investments that I can control and grow at a rate that I find that I need to meet my goals? And that's what we've created, is this entire system that all you have to do as a client is plug into it. And a majority, we don't charge for this, most of this education and stuff. So you plug right into it and just follow these proven concepts that we're all doing every single day. And that's kind of the cool part about it. So just my little rant on what you do. But that's what I love, Joe. Like when we go to these events and we talk and we mastermind and we talk strategies, and you teach me so much about like what people go through, because there's so many different types of people out there and diversity out there. But the cool thing is we can all come together with one means of doing things in a little different way, which is cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love how passionate you are about it too. You said a few things that made me laugh though. The people that are so scared to lose a dollar, you said you did the personal financial management stuff. How many people have you met with hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in their savings account?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. And the whole thing was
what do you-
sales. Like I got taught how to sell. Like I would have a dream book. I
Yes.
used to keep it here. I don't know if I still got it sitting here or not. Call it the Ameriprise Financial Dream Book. I don't know what this
I
is.
am not a salesman. I
what I'm
can't
talking
stand
about?
it.
Hand it to them. Fill out your hopes and dreams. What's retirement? What's perfect? What's your lifestyle? And then I would take that book and be like, okay, well, this is what you want to do. This is what you have now. Let me scare the shit out of you, because there's no way you're ever going to accomplish it unless you give me all your money. It was like,
I that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, I know, I get it. I'm a financial guy. I get paid to sell stuff. I'm not a dumb. But I'm not a salesman, man. I am not selling people stuff. I don't ever want to be one. Don't want to sound like one. Don't want to smell like one. I'm sure that you've been around it. You've seen it where people are just throwing everything, every sales trick at people. I'm just, stay away. But another thing that you said that was awesome is the IBC stuff for entrepreneurs is amazing. On the entrepreneur side of the house, like the stuff you can do with it, it's amazing. Once that, I think he froze up. Once that ball gets rolling, it is so great. Nick asked, Joe, military person, I am deployed. How am I going to have time to manage IBC with taking advantage of deals that are out? So with Nick, while you're deployed, I'm not going to lie, most insurance companies are not going to want to touch you.
Right.
You'll have to wait until you get home. All right. But once you get home, start the process. When you're deployed, if you're not doing stuff with it, the accounts are still growing. The time is, the money is still in there growing. Don't wait. You cannot wait.
It's probably the best time. I mean, when you come home from a deployment, you might have a little bit more money than you had when you left.
Yep.
I mean, reach out to one of our team members. They would be more than happy to hold your hand and walk you through it. Because the first time Chris explained this to me, I was like, wait, what? Wait, hold on a second. And
I
he
just
said, I
had
want
this
you to read this
conversation.
book. Read
I
this
had
book
this.
by R. Nelson Nash. And I said, okay. And I read it, and halfway through, I was texting him, Chris, is this real life? And he was like, yeah, that's what we're doing. And I said, I'm in. I am in. This is incredible.
Yeah. The first time I heard about it, I'm like, this can't logically be right. This has got to be some sort of scheme. There's no way. And then you see it in practice and it's like, wow, how has the IRS not shut this down yet?
We just got home from an event in Phoenix, and it was an assisted living. And we had a booth there. Chris spoke. He's an amazing speaker. He's just an amazing human being. And these people just flooded our booth. They were like, I want more information. What is this? I want to know this. And it was just crazy that all these entrepreneurs, just like you guys were both saying, were just mind blown, wanted to know as much as they could. I love it. I love it. And I love how passionate Chris and our team is about spreading the word, and how Chris, he gives away so much for free. He wants to just spread this to as many people as possible. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Chris is super, super passionate. I mean, I think, the snaggy might have broke his computer. He was so passionate there. Who knows what's really happening with him.
He just texted me, he said, there goes our internet.
Oh no. Yeah. And you know what? On the chat here, Tom is bringing up some excellent points. Trying to convince some military retirees to move money out of their retirement accounts tied to the stock market before 59.5 into something like IBC and private lending is a tough sell.
Until they understand it.
You're right. It is it is a very tough sell until they get it.
Yeah.
Once they get it, once the light bulb clicks.
You have to take the blinders off. You've been wearing them for 25, however many years. And once you take them off and open your mind, you can't even believe that it's real. Can't believe it.
You can accustom that to the same way when I was getting out of the service, right? I'm a helicopter door gunner, crew chief, and a rescue swimmer. Like, what am I going to do next? Like, holy cow, I have no transferable traits unless I want to go work for some company that, goes over to Iraq for a year and work as a civilian. Like, no, thank you. I don't want to do that stuff because I'm scope locked. Like my blinders are on.
Yep.
But until I sat down, I will never forget this. I was in a YMCA. I used to go every single morning before I come to the office, hit the YMCA, do a workout, get a shower, hit the office. And every morning there's this guy, he's in the sauna, about my age, got a little Jew fro thing going on. But the only thing I see him do, he gets in the sauna. He gets in the sauna when I'm getting changed in the morning or put my bags up. And then when I come back from my workout, he's in the sauna. I'm like, how the fuck is this guy doing it? Like, how's this guy in here for an hour plus every day? So eventually I'm like, I gotta get in the sauna and I gotta have a conversation with him. I gotta figure out what this guy's about. So this is right around, again, that timeline where I'm retiring. Eventually I have a conversation with him, like, how are you in here for so long? He's like, oh man, I'm just sweating it out from last night. I'm like, you're in here every day? He goes, yeah, I'm in here every day. I'm just sweating out the booze from last night. I'm like, wow, like, holy cow. First off, you're going to die one of these days, just so you know. You should probably drink a little bit less. I started having a conversation with him, and I'm like, I'm getting out of the military. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next. What do you do? And he goes, I walk dogs. I'm like, all right, dude. And I'm a plumber. I lay pipe for a living. Good joke. You know what I mean? Like, your bud. He's like, no, really. I walk dogs. I'm like, what do you mean you walk dogs? He goes, well, I go to a nursing home where my grandma is, and I walk people's dogs, and people pay me to walk their dogs. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. How much money do you make walking dogs? That's your profession. He's like, I make about 65 grand a year walking dogs. And I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. Like, I basically made 65 grand for the first 10 years of the military. Boy, like, you're telling me you make 65 grand walking dogs. He goes, yeah. He goes, and the best part is there's always a new grandma or grandpa with a new dog because, well, it's an old folks home. They just rotate. Right. So I'm like, okay, this guy's full of it, man. There's no way. I'm driving down the road and I see this bastard with 8 friggin' dogs on a leash. And I was like, he's not lying. He really walks dogs. And that's when I thought, like you said, you have to take the blinders off. You have to pull yourself out of the scope, open your aperture, and see what's out there.
Yep.
It's no different with the, with the infinite banking concept. Once
amazing.
you pull yourself out and you see it and you try it and it works, and then you realize like you can do it bigger and better. Why wouldn't you not? Why wouldn't you?
I agree. I
Why wouldn't
agree.
you tell all your friends? Like they're gonna think you're crazy. But hey, so is the guy that walks dogs.
Say, hey, some of my friends, my closest friends, they still have the blinders on. I was on the phone with one today, and he was like, "Nope, I like the market." I said, "Hey, some people like to hang out in the casino. I don't. And if that's where you like to hang out, by all means, hang out in the casino. Don't say that I didn't explain to you that there's other places to play, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's where I'm not 100% all in.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I love it. I'm actively, because my policy isn't set up for IBC, I'm finally getting to the point now. I think my policy is 8, 9 years old. I'm finally getting to the point where I have enough funds to start doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I'm like,
Mhm.
how do I get it? Like you guys said, how do we get another policy? How do we funnel more money into this thing? And do I get another one? Can I rework the one I have? Can I put in paperwork to kind of add the PUA rider and reduce some of this death benefit and change it up a little bit? I will tell you, they weren't exactly excited about that, but they'll do it. You just got to request it.
That's great. I think we're almost out of time. Joe,
right.
thank you so much for coming on here.
It's
Sorry
my
that
pleasure.
Steven's internet went down, and hopefully he's okay with this storm. That's terrible. Anybody out there in Florida, be safe. God bless you guys. Joe, thank you so much. Honestly, this has been fantastic. Yeah, if anybody's looking to get in touch with Joe, his email is up here.
I'll put it in there one last time.
Yeah, would you? And I believe Steven put a link in here on how you can get in touch with us over here. We'd love to talk to anybody. Yeah,
Well, again, thank you for having me on, popping the cherry for the first podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service, and thank you for everything that you do for the military and for veterans out there. It's amazing. It really is.
It's my pleasure. If we can help more folks be a little bit smart and get themselves to that next level, why not?
I agree.
Why not?
I agree. Again. All right. Thank you so much, everybody who joined us. Thank you. And Joe, be safe. God bless you.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button. Actually, smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.